Hi, everyone. We are excited and thrilled to kick off our second annual Wisdom Awards. On behalf of the National Black Justice Coalition, it is my honor to welcome you as we celebrate legendary and iconic Black women and femme elders who have been leading the way and blazing trails for decades and will continue to do so for years to come. We're humbled by the opportunity to honor our trailblazers by highlighting their contributions, by highlighting the contributions that Black LGBTQ plus and same gender loving women have made to improve opportunities and outcomes for members of our beautifully diverse community. In addition to honoring our trailblazers, I'm especially excited about some of the torchbearers you'll hear from. Sisters and siblings who are breaking boundaries in the arts, continuing the legacy of Black excellence, and sharing our stories in compelling and multidimensional ways, in the same way that the elders we're celebrating today have done so for so long. We're honored to host this virtual ceremony on National LGBTQ plus Elders Day. So wherever you are, I hope you are shouting and bringing a ton of excitement and enthusiasm into the space that you're in as we are lifting and sharing the light and love that we have for the wisdom that so many who have come before us have brought and continue to bring. Too often, our elders are forgotten about and erased from our histories as we age and grow older, wiser, and as our abilities change. NBJC is determined to ensure that will never happen to the honorees we are honoring today. Our torchbearers, the people who will introduce each honoree, represent people who have joined our elders in bearing the torch of wisdom as they run side by side to finish the race of equity and equality for all of the multitudes within us. In wisdom, the idea behind the Wisdom Awards was sparked from NBJC's logo. You'll notice it right at the top of your screen to the left of the letters NBJC. The image that you see, that symbol, is the Nyansepo knot. And in Ghana, it is an Adinkra symbol that represents wisdom, ingenuity, and being able to find the most strategic methods to achieve success. And our elders being honored today have done that consistently and in very beautiful ways. They, along with so many others, have continued to shine a light that we'll be able to follow for years to come. I do want to quickly honor a leader who has left us far too soon, and that is the beautiful, brilliant, and spirit still vibrant Urvashi Vad. We learned that Urvashi passed away over the weekend, and Urvashi is someone I had the opportunity and privilege to share a stage with a couple of times, and just in those few moments was made a better leader by her words, her courage, and knowing that before the many Black women leaders we have today, that she paved the way as the first person of color to lead a mainstream LGBTQ organization at the national level. And today we have so many more as a result of the many trails that she created. Finally, we're thankful to our partners at AARP for helping us to honor and support these legendary and iconic members of our community. And we want to make sure you hear some words from our sponsors.
Community is more than where you live. It's the people in it.
I help equip Baton Rouge communities with resources that facilitate change.
Who go above and beyond to help it thrive.
I'm educating children in the Bronx on their community history.
AARP recognizes leaders who uplift communities.
I'm helping the community take their health more seriously.
AARP believes when we unite for the greater good, we thrive together.
Yes, we thrive together. I love that message. Now it is my honor to introduce AARP's Senior Research Advisor, a fabulous Black woman who is also same-gender loving and also serves as the chair of AARP's PRISM Employee Resource Group, and that is Cassandra Burton.
Thank you so much. So hello, everybody. On behalf of AARP, our CEO, Jenkins, our Chief Diversity Officer, Edna Kane-Williams, and our 38 million members across the U.S., I'm so honored to be here with you today. As Victoria said, I'm Cassandra Burton. I lead our LGBTQ research at AARP, and I'm so grateful to be here again today, this year, to represent LGBTQ women and the great place that I work for. I'm so fortunate to work for an organization that supports and advocates for all people, including those of us who are part of the LGBTQ family. AARP's unwavering commitment to the communities reflects our core beliefs in the dignity, worth, and potential of every individual. Our core mission is to empower people to choose how they live as they age. Living as you age includes feeling connected to family, to friends, to community. It means equality in managing issues like health concerns, health insurance coverage, employment, affordable housing, and the freedom to live your truth without fear and with equality under the law. On behalf of our 38 million members and all older adults nationwide, AARP proudly re-endorsed the Equality Act, because at AARP, we believe that all people have the fundamental right to be free from discrimination. Make no mistake about it, LGBTQ people should be free from discrimination from the entities that older adults traditionally rely upon for support, such as healthcare, housing facility, meals providers, senior centers. You can expect that we're going to do our part as an organization. So additionally, we support events like today's events to educate, support, and to demonstrate our solidarity with and our unwavering commitment to LGBTQ communities. We're honored to be here with the National Black Justice Coalition. We honor the brilliance, the bravery, the courage, and the spirit of all the women that are honored here today. Because of you, people like myself and Victoria can do what we do. We could build careers where our passions align with our purpose. We could bring our whole selves to our workplace and talk about our wives, our girlfriends, and our children without fear. But we know that so many LGBTQ folks cannot. And so the work and the torch must continue. And we must all do what we can. We thank you, friends and allies of the National Black Justice Coalition, for the part you play in helping all LGBTQ people to live their lives openly, freely, and with dignity, respect, and without fear. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your support. We are grateful for the incredible partnership and friendship with AARP. And we also thank you for your support for all of us as we age and throughout our lives. I am so excited to kick off this award show, y'all. And I see you all are excited to continue to share your comments. We'll continue to highlight them on the screen. If you're on social media, feel free to tag us at NBJC on the move. That is our handle on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. And you can also use the hashtag Wisdom Awards. Yes. So please, again, continue to comment on YouTube, but you also have social media as a place to share your takeaways, excitements, etc. I saw our fabulous CEO, Sharon Lutman-Hicks, comment. I'm grateful for her leadership and stewardship of our organization and our mission, and also look forward to introducing you all to our executive director, David J. Johns, Dr. David J. Johns, later on in the program. My name is Victoria Kirby York, and I serve as the Deputy Executive Director of the National Black Justice Coalition. Our organization is the nation's premier civil rights organization focused on the empowerment of Black, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, plus, and same gender loving people, including people living and thriving with HIV and AIDS. We are excited to continue our programs of policy, advocating for our people, whether it's with the White House, on Capitol Hill, engaging with the judiciary process, and so much more. We look forward to continuing our work in collaboration with so many of you who are tuning in and so many partners who have helped to amplify this program today. Now, I'm excited to introduce you to our very first torchbearer, who's going to be shining a light on honoree Sheila Alexander-Reid. Dana Rice-Seal is the Special Assistant to the Executive Director of the National LGBTQ Task Force. But a lot of folks know Dana as someone who has curated incredibly powerful events for Black women who love women in DC and across the country. Dana has provided countless, not just entertainment for us, but also food for our soul, especially during the pandemic, curating spaces virtually for folks, especially Black same-gender loving women and lesbians, to be able to find each other and have each other and hold each other and provide support. Dana is also someone who is a dancer, has been in a number of some of your favorite music videos, including a oldie but goodie from Drew Hill. And I'm excited for you all to hear her words of celebration in honoring Miss Sheila Alexander-Reid.
Hey, congratulations for you being honored as a recipient of NBJC's Wisdom Award 2022. I am aware of your successes, but as a self-proclaimed club head from the 90s, I want to thank you for giving me my absolute life back then. Women in the Life was all the rage. You guys planted seeds that our community continues to grow from. You encouraged us to keep the energy that we had going when the beats were pumping and we were on the floor and we were, having fun and sweating it out. You encouraged us to take that same energy outside of the club scene and advocate for our community and create change and just stand up for something. Do charitable work, do philanthropic work. Because of you, we saw that those two things can exist. Your ways of being was simply inspiring. You showed us that we should definitely do what's needed to help our community, to uplift our community, to support our community. You held us accountable with your behaviors, with your ways of being. Thank you. Thank you for being an example. Thank you for modeling Black girl magic before it was a trend. Thank you for showing a promoter like me that I can go ahead and I can have an event. And it's okay to be in a club, but you still have to do the work once you leave out. You still have to protest. You still have to show up and show out. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know that we can have a club night, but we can still offer information, resources, be supportive. I am so grateful that you laid the blueprint for us to follow. It's not easy. It couldn't have been easy, but you made it look easy. You did things with grace. You opened doors for us to come and be ourselves and be joyous. Who even thought of the things that you did? Where did it even come from for you to just create a publication, for example? I mean, yeah, we saw examples of it, but who would think that a Black LGBTQ, led, because at first I thought at the time that it was catered to the lesbians, but as I look back now, you were serving a community. Where did that thought even come from? You may not have known it was going to work, but you had the courage to try, and that's where the power lies. That power is trickling down to us. We appreciate it. We embrace it. And we will do the best that we can do with it so that your work is not in vain. We love you. We appreciate you. We hope that you are faring well at this time, that you are grounded, that you are finding joy in the midst of the storm. We love you. We appreciate you. I know I do. You are forever my Cheryl. I am so proud of you, and I see why you are being honored with the Wisdom Award, with NBJC's Wisdom Award 2022. Sheila, Alexander-Reid, you deserve it. You have earned it. Bless you.
Wow, wow, wow. Oof, I needed to hear that. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you to the National Black Justice Coalition. Thank you to Sharon Letman Hicks. I was there when she first assumed the helm, and I know that she caught hell, and I was there to support her, and it is just amazing to see how far you all have come. I also want to thank you for this recognition, and quite frankly, for having the foresight to create such an award. So often we do not give flowers and praise to one another, especially while we're here to feel the love and warmth of the recognition. So, thank you. That really spoke to me and touched my heart. As someone who has been working for roughly 30 years to live up to the examples of the other women being honored today, I am humbled to be included in this group of legendary badasses. I am elated to be honored along with Ann Allen Shockley, Cheryl Clarke, Anita Cornwell, Jewelle Gomez, Andrea Jenkins, Racine Pendarvis, Barbara Smith, and Linda Villarosa. Woo! Your contributions to the Black, lesbian, non-binary, femme, queer elder community are beyond measure. You are all dedicated visionaries, fierce activists, and compassionately committed organizers. So I'm just, filled with just awe. I'm in awe just to be in the same room. My work as an advocate and founder of Women in Life didn't happen in a vacuum. I was blessed to be supported and surrounded by a loving and affirming birth family. Mother, father, siblings, cousins, aunts, and uncles all affirmed me. I also had a chosen family of women who identified as Black lesbians, and they lift me up today, back then, and every day. This includes Charlene Hamilton, E. Darlene Rogers, K. Shakira Washington, Lois Alexander, Georgette Walker, Khadijah Tribble, Jade Foster, Robin Kane, Veronica Wilson, Deidre Oettingren, Chris Vera, Karma Mayette, Michaela Harrison, R. Erica Doyle, and thousands of women in life around the world. That's just to name a few. And if you really want to learn more about women in life, please, I encourage you to go to womenlife.org. We are still kicking ass today. But lastly, I would be remiss without also acknowledging the inspirational love and support that I get each and every day from my Black feminist, lesbian, North Star, and partner, Aisha Shahida Simmons. If you don't know who she is, I encourage you to look her up. She is a badass in her own right. So you see, I stand on the shoulders of well-known ancestors like Audre Lorde, June Jordan, Pat Parker, and our most recent ancestor, Irva Shivade, as well as three very close ancestors whose names demand to be said out loud. Wanda Alston, Phyllis Kroom, and Venus Thrash. Collectively, my family, these ancestors, and these women created space for me, a little Black tomboyish girl from Cincinnati, Ohio, to find my voice. They blazed trails for me to follow and really cultivated community for me to find my purpose. So before moving on, I really had to just stop and pay homage with a deep bow of gratitude to them. Receiving this award is an honor and a call to continue forging ahead. There are seismic gains in this painfully complex political climate.
President Biden selected Vice President Kamala Harris to be his running mate on the Democratic presidential ticket in 2020. And this historic win was made in part through the tireless, on-the-ground coalition building and grassroots organizing co-led by Black, Indigenous, Latinx, Arab, and white women, men, non-binary, femme, disabled, deaf, blind, and people all spanning the spectrum of difference, committed to making this country an equitable union for all. Vice President Harris is the first Black, first South Asian, and first woman to hold this position in the history of this country. That's 144 years after it was founded. The U.S. Senate recently voted to confirm President Biden's nominee, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, to the U.S. Supreme Court. Judge Jackson is the first Black woman on the Supreme Court, a court that has existed since 1789. So that's 233 years later. Karine Jean-Pierre, the 35th White House press secretary, is our country's first Black and first openly LGBTQ person to hold this position. Unfortunately, simultaneously, we are experiencing devastating losses as direct pushback to many advances, 3 of which I just named. It is reminiscent of the pushback to the first Reconstruction. There have been almost 240 anti-LGBTQ bills filed in 2020, and most of them are aimed at trans people. Books are being banned. Talking about sex education, critical race theory, gender identity, genocide of indigenous people, the enslavement of African people, namely the 1619 Project, white supremacy, and more in educational settings and elsewhere is slowly becoming illegal in some jurisdictions in this country. Voter repression laws are growing every day, and reproductive justice is on the line. And yes, this is an LGBTQ plus issue. Without question, cisgender women who are straight, lesbian, and queer will be impacted, and so will femmes, trans, and non-binary people. These potential rollbacks have frightening ramifications for all communities, and we know they don't just end with reproductive justice. In closing, this is a celebration of what each of the honorees accomplished collectively. And this is also an opportunity to look forward. We are in an intergenerational relay race for our lives. My life's work has also brought me face to face with the next generation of very diverse LGBTQIA plus leaders who are deeply committed to advancing the cause of social justice and fighting to protect and retain the freedoms and rights attained by my generation and the preceding generations. I am inspired by this new generation of Black, lesbian, trans, non-binary, femme, gay, and queer feminist activists. Let's be in conversation. I invite you to build upon what many of us have done and are still doing, and to take it to the next level. We didn't get here by accident. Millennials and Gen Z can benefit from our work, not necessarily using the exact same methods, but our work. This should not be a one-way street. Collectively, our histories and contemporary realities shouldn't have to be pieced together. We really need to strategically intertwine the past with the present to best prepare for our collective future. In the words of the self-defined Black lesbian feminist mother warrior poet, Audre Lorde, without community, there is no liberation. But community must mean a shedding of our differences. Must not. Let's just start over. Without community, there is no liberation. But community must not mean a shedding of our differences, nor the pathetic pretense that these differences do not exist. I'm Sheila Alexander-Reid, and I am so very honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheila. You already know how much I fangirl you, so. Congrats again. on your honor. Our next torchbearer will be shining a light on Miss Ann Allen Shockley, whose works personally helped really shape who I am today. The person who is her torchbearer is Professor Lamonda Horton Stallings, who is a professor of African American Studies with experience in the fields of English, linguistics, folklore, and women, gender, and sexuality studies. Professor Horton Stallings, also known as L.H. Stallings, if you're looking for a book by her, is currently a professor at Georgetown University, but has also previously taught at the University of Maryland, College Park, Indiana University, and the University of Florida as a Floridian. Go Gators. Some of the books that have been authored by her are Mother is Half a Word, Intersections of Folklore, Vernacular, Myth, and Queerness in Black Female Culture. And also Funk the Erotic, Trans Aesthetics and Black Sexual Cultures. So check those out, and now check her out as she shines the light on Miss Ann Allen Shockley.
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of the NBJC's Wisdom Awards in recognition of Black LGBTQ Elders. I'm happy to offer words in honor of writer Ann Allen Shockley, who has served as a trailblazer in creative fields of fiction and Black studies. As a Southern Black writer from Louisville, Kentucky, Shockley has contributed greatly to 20th century Black LGBTQ representation and queer studies in the 20th century. Shockley has been especially relevant to Southern identity politics and culture. She has been curious, loving, and boldly persistent in what she writes about when it comes to challenging racism, sexism, and homophobia. Though some critics may not have liked what she wrote about or how she wrote about it, the reality remains that without her work, the representation of Southern Black lesbian identity and culture would be less visible. In addition, as a journalist, Shockley would write for Delaware and Maryland newspapers early on in her career, while also serving as a freelance reporter for Black newspapers in Baltimore and Pittsburgh. In addition, she graduated from Case Western University in library science, later carving out a space for herself in universities producing new knowledge about Black culture and scholarship. She held several positions in libraries at Delaware State College, the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and Fisk University. Throughout her 4 decades as a librarian and archivist, she completed archival projects, taught library science, wrote fiction and criticism, all in the service of producing new knowledge about Black culture, Black women, and Black same-sex desire. She is responsible for important scholarly work about Black librarianship and Black library special collections. Her first book was A History of Public Library Services to Negroes in the South, 1900 to 1955. She also founded the Black Oral History Program at Fisk University, published a handbook for the administration of special Black collections, and co-edited the Handbook of Black Librarianship. As if this wasn't enough, Shockley would also go on to be a great writer and contributor to LGBT culture and literature in the 20th century. As a writer, she produced important criticism in fiction. For example, Shockley's essay, The Black Lesbian in American Literature, was one of the few essays early on to talk about Black lesbians as a non-entity in American imagination and reality. Her essay ushered in the area of recovering and uncovering Black lesbian sexuality and culture with its pertinent analysis of texts of the time that included lesbian characters and themes throughout the 1900s through the 1970s. She provided the early critical knowledge of lesbian, now trans writer Red Jordan Aratu. Shockley definitively understood the dearth of representation because she produced one of the earliest fictional representations of a Black lesbian in her 1974 novel, Loving Her. Working with Naiad Press, she would continue to generate more works. The Black and White of it in 1980, Say Jesus and Come to Me in 1982, and Celebrating Hotchclaw in 2005. Her career as a writer, librarian, and archivist allowed her to produce decolonial approaches to library sciences and generate new knowledge about gender and sexuality that is attentive to regionalism and moral dogma. For this and more, Anne Island Shockley certainly deserves the Wisdom Award. Thank you.
It is with my deepest respect for the work of the National Black Justice Coalition that I am honored to accept this Wisdom Award. Being one who enjoys words, I decided to refresh myself on the meaning of wisdom. In doing so, I found numerous definitions, all of which I could not perceive of as being related to me. Then one of them, defined as foresight, struck out, and I thought, yes, it was perhaps foresight to write my first novel, Loving Her. As an avid reader, I had not read a novel with a Black lesbian protagonist in African American literature. I set out to bring her to the forefront, but not like War and Peace. Unfortunately, in those bleak, homophobic, sexist, and racist times for Black writers, it was not easy to get published. It took quite some time before Loving Her's pages could breathe life. For in the publishing world, Black agents and editors were just slowly emerging. So I took it upon myself to throw it over the transom, an old expression for submitting a manuscript yourself to a publisher, to then mainstream Bob's Mural. Luckily, it was given to his first Black editor, Walter Dean Myers, who accepted it. He had recognized my name from stories in Black World, Negro Digest, and other Black literary publications. To him, I shall always be indebted. Walter became a prize-winning children's writer. I perceive of myself as a fiction writer with a mission to target injustices for change, as I tried in my novels Loving Her, Say Jesus and Come to Me, and Celebrating Hotchclaw, and also in my collection of short stories, The Black and White of It, that Barbara Smith blurbed on its back cover as being the first collection of short stories about lesbians by an African American woman writer. Now, in looking over the names of my fellow Wisdom Awardees, I feel that I have helped in a way to open the door for others to enter and succeed in their endeavors to tell stories, make waves, and challenge barriers. Thank you for this award that I'm happy to joke still be alive to receive.
Thank you so much, Miss Anne Allen Shockley. I'm so grateful that she was able to accept the award. Miss Anne Allen Shockley's book, Loving Her, was the first text that I read where violence wasn't the end result or a big part of the story when it came to a Black lesbian storyline. And really opened my eyes to the possibilities of what my life could be, being both openly lesbian, Black, and so many other things. I'm excited. I excitedly refer to her as the Dean of our honorees. At 96 years old, as you could tell, she is still as sharp and as brilliant as ever. And is truly just been an honor of a lifetime to have an opportunity to meet with her and talk to her as we began the process to be able to honor her this year. So next, our next torchbearer, who's going to be honoring and shining light on Cheryl Clarke, is Sister Dr. Alexis Pauline Gums. And I see that you are also tuned in and have been commenting. Thank you, Sister Doctor. Alexis Pauline Gums is a queer, Black troublemaker and Black feminist love evangelist and an aspirational cousin to all sentient beings. Her work in this lifetime is to facilitate infinite, unstoppable ancestral love and practice. And from her co-edited volume, Revolutionary Mothering, to M-Archive, After the End of the World, to Spill, Scenes of Black Feminist Fugitivity, which came out in 2016, and a new book that is soon to come that we'll all have the opportunity to dig into its pages later this year. Alexis has continued to bless us with so much depth, knowledge, and heart, and so excited for you all to hear the remarks that she has prepared to honor Miss Cheryl Clarke.
Hello, loved ones. I'm Sister Dr. Alexis Pauline Gums, and I am more than honored to bear the torch, bigger than a torch, bigger than a lighthouse, maybe the light at the end of the tunnel showing the portal way home. For this great light, Cheryl Clarke. Cheryl. I'm going to dig into the archive. In 1985, for the dedication of the Audre Lorde Women's Poetry Center at Hunter College, you sent this affirmation. Dear Audre, on the occasion of this dedication, I wish you all the best. I can think of no teacher, writer, hardworking Black woman who deserves to have a poetry center named after her more, except for those nameless Black women workers who've gone before, in whose name I know you accept this honor. I wish the students dedicating this center to you many, many more years of learning from you. Thank you for everything you've given me and all Black lesbians. Love and sisterhood. Cheryl Clarke. Cheryl, you could have been writing to yourself across time. I know, we know the indelible, infinite impact of your work, your poetry, your activism, your scholarship, your years of leadership at Rutgers, your impact on publishing through your many years working on the journal Conditions, the work that you're doing now with your sister Brina to bring us all together as the Hobart Women's Writing Festival. And I want to especially witness to how, for me, you have become more than an icon to admire from afar. You've become some sort of mischievous angel in my life. I will never forget that at the retirement celebration that Darnell Moore and Mecca Jamila Sullivan convened us to gather together at Rutgers, the day-long symposium where we got to celebrate you. My father was there, and you kept saying, "Your father is still here?" And maybe it was something about your precise haircut, or just the legacy that you move with. But my father, who at the time was a straight, cis, Black, West Indian man in his 60s, answered you by saying, "Of course I'm here. Cheryl, I'm a queer Black feminist too." And you continued to bless our family You read my father's poetry and gave him feedback. And at the hardest time in my life, when my queer Black feminist father was dying of cancer, you met with me, sat with me, gifted me copies of Conditions from your own collection. Cheryl, the way you love us is the light. It is the way forward. It is the way back. It is the way to forever. Thank you, Sister Dr. Cheryl Clarke, for being who you are.
Am I speechless? Am I wordless? Thank you so much, Alexis. And actually, I think of your father often. I am honored to be in the company of these wonderfully accomplished elders, co-honorees. Two shock waves shook me yesterday morning. The death of National-Reid is on my mind. My sincerest condolences go out to her longtime life partner, Kate Clinton, and to National-Reid's family. Her contributions to the LGBTQ movement have no depth. Rest in resistance, Irv. You did your part. You were taken too soon. And then the mass murders by a white supremacist of 10 Black people at the Tops grocery store yesterday in Buffalo, New York, a state that has become my home. These murders are also on my mind. My utter sympathies extend to their families. I don't know where there is comfort or accountability. As Fannie Lou Hamer said many, many years ago, I question America. We all question America wherever we are on the local, state, national level. We are angry. I was greatly inspired by the speech that the brilliant Cherie Moraga made upon her receipt of a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Publishers Triangle this year. She referenced our current era, the endangered reproductive rights, same-sex marriage rights, voting rights and freedom, rights to use contraception, gender choice rights, and the precious right to education. I chose lesbianism in 1973. Today, we have worked toward a time when we have many venues that honor our lives and achievements. Let's continue to do the work to struggle against the threatening authoritarianism and anti-democratic neo-fascist practices. The Black arts movement of the 60s and early 70s enabled my lesbianism, sexist as it was. LGBT queer communities have been my life in the life since 1973. And I'm ever thankful primarily to gay and lesbian people because you have enabled my own agency. Then soon after came the Black lesbian feminism of my co-awardee, Barbara Smith, of Audre Lorde, of Pat Parker, and so many others. And I think the LGBT movement learned how to do self-determination from the Black power and women's liberation movements. And so it has been my pleasure and honor to be a lesbian for more than 40 years. And my extreme pleasure and honor to write for LGBT queer audiences over these past 40 plus years. And hopefully there's more to come. And to be embraced by the range of queer audiences is ever my hope and desire. And I thank you, National Black Justice Coalition, for this honor and for your work. And as I said, thanks other honorees for your years of work.
Thank you very much, and happy birthday! I'm going to make sure that we have a moment to wish you happy birthday together a little later in the program. I see so many wishing you a happy birthday. I hope you're able to see all of the congratulations and love pouring into you. And I just have to say, I'd read your works before, but Julie, our Enzer of Sinister Wisdom, shared with me this collection, Living as a Lesbian, as a part of Sapphire Classics. And I just, every time I read your work, my heart is just filled being able to see myself. And it's true of so many of the honorees.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. More and more birthday love is pouring in. So our next torchbearer is going to be honoring Anita Cornwell, and that is Professor Brianna Simone Jones, who works at the University of Connecticut as an assistant professor in English, specializing in African American literature, feminist and queer theory, and Black queer studies. With a PhD in English and certificate in women and gender studies from Michigan State University, Jones has published a collection of Black lesbian writings that every single one of you watching this must purchase, titled Mouths of Rain, an anthology of Black lesbian thought. One of the reasons why I really encourage you all to purchase it is because a number of our honorees and torchbearers featured today are included in her publication. And it's a really great way for you to have a primer on all of so many of our honorees. It is the most comprehensive anthology centering Black lesbian thought to date. During her research, Jones developed the concept of Black lesbian aesthetics. I like that. I'm gonna have to use that a lot more to describe the heretical shift in self-definition that transpired after the groundbreaking formation of the Combahee River Collective in 1974, which I'm sure you all will hear more about when we have the opportunity to toast and shed a light on Barbara Smith. So with that, you all will have the chance to hear from our next torchbearer, the brilliant Professor Brianna Simone Jones.
I am so thankful to have the opportunity to honor the life and work of Anita Cornwell. I'm going to read a portion of the foreword to Black Lesbian and White America that was published in 1983 and written by Becky Bertha, because I think that she succinctly describes how profound Anita Cornwell has been, not only to her own writing life, but to burgeoning Black lesbian writers. In 1983, Becky Bertha writes, "Sometime in 1980, I asked Anita Cornwell if she had any copies of her earlier published work that she might be able to share with me. For a younger Black lesbian writer attempting to write as openly as just that, the role models are few and far between. It's difficult to find anyone who has even a slight comprehension of what you are trying to do, let alone one who knows much more than you do, who has in fact been doing it herself for years." I felt very lucky to have run across Anita Cornwell's work, and even luckier to have the opportunity to meet with her and to work with her for a brief time. As I became familiar with her current work, I wanted to read more of it. I knew that she had been a published journalist for years, and I was curious about what she had written. The result of my request was a small brown envelope full of essays and stories dating back to 1964. Several of them had been published in 2 periodicals, which served as major voices of their respective oppressed groups, Negro Digest and The Latter. As I read the collection through, I grew more and more aware of how valuable these articles were, for it was evident from reading them that their author was a woman far ahead of her time. Incorporated into all of her work was an acute political analysis of both racial and sexual oppressions, an analysis both radical and feminist, though the work was written long before those words were in common use together. This analysis included class issues as a matter of course. Anita Cornwell writes forcefully and fearlessly, in a compelling and outspoken voice. She is not afraid to take a stand and speak her mind on even the most controversial subjects. She doesn't shrink from implicating men as the enemy, or from pointing out that Black women do not owe more allegiance to Black men than they do to white women, nor does she hesitate to present her position on heterosexuality. Her opinions are full strength and undiluted. There is no conciliation, no compromising here. And in the introduction, Anita Cornwell shares, quote, "If I might be bold as to express a heartfelt wish for the future, it would be that all sisters of all races, creeds, colors, and sexual persuasions might realize the folly of fighting amongst ourselves and band together to confront our common enemy, who continues to wage an unrelenting war against all of us," end quote. Anita, I want to thank you for giving us the political language. Thank you for leaving guideposts and paradigms of not only how to speak truth to power, but paradigms of how to be in coalition with one another. Although the revolution is not yet materialized, I thank you so much for your words, because I think that they carry us through as we traverse this unsettling territory. And so I love you deeply, and I'm so honored to be in this space to honor your life and work. I am really appreciative for this opportunity. I want to thank the National Black Justice Council for creating a sacred space for us to reflect and honor the life and work of Black lesbians, femmes, and non-binary folks. I'm really humbled to have the opportunity to accept this award on behalf of Anita Cornwell. Anita, thank you so much for committing your life to writing and leaving behind so many sacred words for Black lesbians like myself. I also want to thank you for publishing the first collection of essays by a Black lesbian. You wrote Black lesbian in white America at age 60. And so for me, that's just such a good awareness that you had to continue writing and to continue leaving behind words for us. I believe that these political vernaculars that you offered are for freedom. And though freedom is not yet realized, I think your words are both a call to action and a mandate for the future. I know that you are settled in Philadelphia, and I hope that we get to connect soon. But I want to thank you, NBJC. Take care.
Thank you very much, Professor Jones. I am sure Miss Anita Cornwell, as well as her family, are thrilled with the remarks that you gave on her behalf. It's rare that a family is so united and excited about the same person being able to lift up, honor, and take in a recognition for their loved one when their loved one can no longer do it. And I was super excited that you were able to take that recommendation and run with it. Thank you for your leadership and for your words on her behalf. Our next torchbearer is Dr. Mecca Jamila Sullivan, and she is shining a light on Ms. Jewelle Gomez, who is with us today. Dr. Sullivan is the author of the novel Big Girl, The Poetics of Difference, and Blue Talk in Love, which is the winner of the Judith A. Markowitz Award from Lambda Literary. Sullivan is an associate professor of English at Georgetown University, a native of Harlem that is living in the beautiful Washington, D.C. We were thrilled that she was able to highlight Ms. Gomez, in part because she is both a writer of short stories, nonfiction, and also a playwright, much like the brilliant woman that she is paying homage to. Now, here's some words from Dr. Mecca Jamila Sullivan.
Good evening. I'm Mecca Jamila Sullivan, and I'm thrilled to be here to celebrate Jewelle Gomez as the 2022 National Black Justice Coalition Wisdom Award honoree. In her essay, But Some of Us Are Brave Lesbians, The Absence of Black Lesbian Fiction, Jewelle Gomez names the links between the invisibility of Black lesbians in American literature and the unspoken violences of racial, gender, sexual, class, and other intersecting forms of oppression. The task of the writer, she suggests, is not only to write against racism, sexism, and homophobia, but to do so, as she puts it, through developing, quote, a narrative or poetic voice and its gestalt, which might say something about not just our condition, but about the condition of the world. She continues, only by telling our stories in the most specific, imagistic, and imaginative narratives do the lives of Black lesbians take on long-term literary and political significance. Here, Gomez names the remarkable blend of transformative social vision and deep creative resonance of her own tremendous body of work. In her fiction, plays, poems, essays, interviews, and other works, Jewelle Gomez offers worlds in which Black women and our feelings, our desires, our experiences, and our speculative futures all define, quote, political significance. Jewelle Gomez is the author of the double Lambda Award-winning novel, The Gilda Stories from Firebrand Books, as well as the adaptation of the book for the stage, Bones and Ash, A Gilda Story, which was performed by the Urban Bushwomen Company in 13 U.S. cities and was published as a Triangle Classic by the Paperback Book Club. Among her other foundational books are 3 collections of poetry, The Lipstick Papers, Flamingos and Bears, and Oral Tradition, published by Firebrand. She edited, with Eric Garber, a fantasy fiction anthology entitled Swords of the Rainbow. She's also the author of a book of personal and political essays entitled 43 Septembers, and a collection of short fiction, Don't Explain. Gomez is currently the Director of Grants and Community Initiatives for Horizon and the President of the San Francisco Literary Commission. In a student interview recently published on the Black Space Black Woman Writers blog, focused on Gomez's short story collection, Don't Explain, one student interviewer asked Gomez about the range of readerly responses to her bold, fierce, diligently evocative rendering of Black lesbians' erotic lives. Gomez responds to the student, "Maybe it was the lesbian sex that put some readers off. Only the readers can imagine that for themselves. Actually feeling something when reading is a good thing, I'd say. That uncomfortable response may be a way of saying, you're not ready for this." I'm grateful to the NBJC for the chance to say that we are ready for this. We are here for this. We are eager to recognize you, to celebrate you, the incomparable Jewelle Gomez, with the National Black Justice Coalition's 2022 Wisdom Award. Thank you.
Hi to everyone, and thank you, Mecca, for a beautiful, beautiful introduction. Thank you to the National Black Justice Coalition for honoring me and the sisterhood that's here today. I feel particularly honored because this award and this event really is at the core of who I am and how I think about my politics and my writing, which are one. I'm essentially a lesbian lineophile, which for me means I like to dig deep into our past, into the history that has made us who we are, and connect it to what I think our future will be about. One of the great joys of writing speculative fiction is that I can make those connections from our past to our future, or to realms that we don't realistically think about on a day-to-day basis. So being a lineophile for me is always honoring the past, always examining the past. I will have to say thank you to those who've gone before me, including Audrey and Urvashi and June Jordan. Thank you to them for the work that they did, to Gloria Anzaldúa. I could not have done any of the work that I did in the last 40 or so years. And I want to thank the people who are still doing the work, like my sister woman, Cheryl Clarke, who has been one of my guiding lights, to Nancy Bariano, who first thought of publishing my work at all. I want to highlight a new publisher in our community, Stephanie Andrea Allen, who started the Black Lesbian Feminist Press within the last 5 years. So we have to be hopeful that a younger woman, African American, would decide she could start a press called the Black lesbian feminist press. It's that kind of energy that makes me feel really, really hopeful. When I was coming of age as a young lesbian feminist of color, we learned that the personal is political. That was our call to arms. And as I've grown older, I think of it more that our passion is political. Whatever that passion is, whether it's how elders deal with desire for each other and democracy, what our place is in that democracy, how we uplift our local communities where we live, keeping them both conscious and a sense of safety in those communities. We all have our own passions. And ultimately, if we can act politically to support, engage, and encourage those passions for ourselves and for those around us, I think we'll have a better community for ourselves, but also, as Mecca Jamila Sullivan reminded me, that the condition of the world is the ultimate goal, how we affect the condition of the world. And finally, I want to call out the name of Mabel Hampton, who was born in 1902 and was an activist in New York City, who worked with the Lesbian History Archives, and was, as she used to say, just a regular old dyke. And she had been a dancer in the Harlem Renaissance. You could go visit her and sit and listen to her tell you her history. In fact, Cheryl, Clarke, and I spent an entire afternoon in her house eating and talking about the past. And it was a very emotional time because in some ways we were looking at ourselves if we were lucky. So I want to thank everyone for this honor, for the opportunity for me to mention Mabel Hampton. And for those of you who don't know her, she wasn't a writer, she was just a regular lesbian. So thank you all for this honor. And I look forward to coming back to future honoring events and seeing who else we can raise up. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, it was so hard selecting our list of honorees this year because there have been so many fierce and wonderful artists of your generation who really paved the way for the plethora to exist today. So yes, there will be more honorings to come. Later this year, we'll have our second annual James Baldwin Awards, which will honor our brothers and masculine identified elders. So stay tuned for that in August. And I just have to say, I love the sisterhood that you all have with each other, both in looking at how you all worked with each other throughout your careers, and also even just right now in the chats, producing the event, the support and love that you all have for each other as a cohort and as a generation of leaders is so beautiful and inspiring to me. And I'm excited to age myself as I get older, to be able to have that same kind of camaraderie and sisterhood and kinship with my peers. Next up will be our torchbearer, Shay Franco-Clausen, who also serves as the co-chair, as one of the co-chairs for NBJC's Good Trouble Network, which is a network of Black LGBTQ+ and same-gender loving elected officials from all across the country. You know, change has come when you have enough people to build a network, y'all. There are over 100 elected of us around the country representing our community and our lived experiences. So less about that and more about Shay. Shay Franco-Clausen was the first openly lesbian, Black, Afro-Latina to be elected in Santa Clara County in California. She served as the chair of the Santa Clara County Commission on the Status of Women, the Santa Clara County Open Space Authority, the Santa Clara County Democratic Party delegate as both delegate and director of gender and equity. Also served as the corresponding secretary for the California Democratic Party, African American Caucus, and so many other roles in politics. And is someone who is also helping to ensure that others that come after her are able to lean on the expertise and brilliance of those that came before. She was thrilled to be able to shine light on our next honoree, the Honorable President of the Minneapolis City Council, Andrea Jenkins.
Good morning. My name is Shay Franco-Clausen, and I am the co-chair of the National Black Justice Coalition's Good Trouble Network. I am truly honored to be a torchbearer for a woman that has been nothing less than a beacon of light in my life and so many others. I am not surprised that she is being honored by the National Black Justice Coalition and AARP with the legendary Elders Wisdom Award. I cannot think of a better person to be acknowledged for her unwavering leadership than my friend and mentor. This woman is a fighter and a force of nature, and in the face of adversity, she always stands tall with grace and poise. In the last 2 years, she has served on Minneapolis City Council in extreme conditions at the center of a national social justice awakening. From California, I watched her take lead and hold of a historical narrative of Blackness unseen and transform it into an opportunity for justice and healing. Serving on the Minneapolis City Council, she was the first Black trans woman to be elected in 2017, and she has definitely made her mark. From leading national movements to protecting the rights of Black and LGBT plus same gender loving folks, she's a shining example of resilience and courage and an exceptional role model to women everywhere, especially trans women. Outside of her work in public office, she is an artist who has been showcased for her writings, poetry, and spoken word. She also holds a bachelor's degree in human services from Metropolitan State University, a master's degree in community development from Southern New Hampshire University, and an MFA in creative writing from Hamline University. In 2018, she completed Harvard University's J.F. Kennedy School of Government, a program for senior executives in state and local government, as a David Bonet LGBT Institute Fellow, and I look forward to following to her steps this summer. This woman is an icon, and working with her on the Good Trouble Network and other LGBT spaces, she has built the strongest shoulders for me to stand on. I have admired, loved, and embraced the friendship we have built and the standard of leadership in which I will continue to follow. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the person I am bearing the torch for, the Honorable Andrea Jenkins. Congratulations, Queen, and I love you so much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Shay from the Bay, for that beautiful introduction. I'm still pinching myself and wondering why I have been included in this august honoring of artists and freedom fighters and lesbian, gender nonconforming women who I have looked up to for decades, and even more shocked having listened to their introductions as well as their comments afterwards. And so it is with deep honor and a humble nature that I accept this award. And I want to thank NBJC and all of its supporters for their efforts in lifting up Black, lesbian, gender nonconforming, trans, same gender loving folks. It is really important, I think, that we do honor our community members in ways that offer recognition that we see, we hear, and we appreciate their contributions. Serving in political office is a challenge no matter when a person serves in political office. It is a deeper challenge, I think, to be a Black trans woman in serving in institutions that we know not only were not designed for us, but were literally designed to oppress us. And so being in those spaces, showing up every day is it's a deep honor, but it's also a very large challenge. As Shay mentioned, I represent the district that George Floyd was murdered in. And in 2 weeks, in fact, next week, we will be commemorating the second anniversary of that murder, which happened 2 blocks from my home. So even if I weren't the Minneapolis City Council member, I would still be deeply involved, engaged, and impacted by the murder of George Floyd, as were all of you. But being the city council member tasked with trying to hold this community together, trying to promote healing, understanding, awareness, trying to exhibit and inspire people to become anti-racist is a significant challenge. I do want to just acknowledge my dear friend and mentor, Urvishay Vayad. I was looking through some of my notes, and back in November, I was on a panel with Urvishay with the National Black Justice Coalition. And 2 years ago at Creating Change, we also shared the stage together to talk about the legacy of our work and our lives together. I have been very deep friends with her siblings, child, I will say, Alok Bayad, who is also a standard bearer leading the conversation around what it means to be a gender non-conforming person. And so it's just, it's deeply sad to know that Urvishay is no longer here with us in this realm, but very pleased to know that she will be, she has joined our ancestors and will be guiding us as we move forward. And I'm really inspired by the young people who have been the torchbearers today, because it shows us that we are going to be in good hands in the future. And again, I just want to express my deep gratitude for this honor, and look forward to continuously building a brighter future for our community with all of you amazing trailblazers. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And, you know, people often forget that folks have careers before they run for office. And one of the things that I love about your pre-elected office career is the beautiful art that you've created, and the beautiful ways in which you, like so many of your other honorees, have archived and ensured through oral history, our stories are remembered and not forgotten. There's a particular poem that you shared when we shared the opening plenary stage at Creating Change a few years ago with Irv. And it was a requiem for the queers, or why we wear the color purple. And I almost played it, but for the sake of time, I did it. But I do encourage all of you watching to check that poem out and to purchase President Andrea Jenkins' books of poetry, so that you can also be inspired by the brilliant works of art that she's created. Now, our next honoree is the beautiful, vibrant Racine Pendarvis. And I'm excited to introduce our torchbearer who will be shining a light on Racine's beautiful history. And that is Ebony Bell, who is a business owner, speaker, and trailblazer in her own right in the world of entrepreneurship, diversity, equity, and inclusion, activism, and LGBTQ+ media. She is the founder and editor-in-chief of Tag Magazine, which celebrates 9 years of telling thousands of stories, creating safe spaces for queer women, and providing important resources for the LGBTQ+ community. Over the past 4 years, Tag Magazine has been named top 25 LGBTQ-owned companies by the Washington Business Journal, and Ebony was recently featured in Forbes magazine as an inspiring Black entrepreneur changing our world. That's been her mission exactly. Ebony's also created and curated a lot of events. Also is in the tradition of honoree Sheila, Alexander-Reid, and others, and has ensured that the DC community has as many spaces as possible for our youth to see themselves. With that, I can't wait for you to hear from Ebony Bell, who is the torchbearer for Her Royal Highness, Racine Pendarvis.
Hi, I'm Ebony Bell, the owner and editor of Tag Magazine. And it's my honor to be here to recognize one of the best to ever do it. The high priestess of love, the queen of the shameless plug, and the goddess of DC. The only person this could be is the one and only Racine Pendarvis. Her self-described self as a gender blender has left quite a stamp on the LGBTQ community, especially in the DC metropolitan area. So it's no surprise Racine is being honored today. Racine is an activist, MC, entertainer, social media personality, a columnist for Swerve Magazine, and was the host of the Ask Racine show for 9 years. Now, what I personally loved about the Ask Racine show was the diverse community it brought out. No matter the age, race, background, or gender, Racine has always been this person from the very start, recognizing the importance of fighting for social justice, to raising funds for several nonprofit organizations, to hosting and lending her voice to what has to be over 100 events. And after many years of activism, Racine has received multiple awards and accolades, including the Triumph Award, Spirit of Light, Us Helping Us Lifetime Award, along with several community service awards, just to name a few. You know, a wise person once said, you have to go through something to have a legacy. And it lets me know who stood so I may twirl, and that I stood so others may twirl. And that wise person was Racine Pendarvis. And that's exactly what Racine has done for not only my generation, but LGBTQ generations to come. So thank you, my friend, for being such a trailblazer and just an amazing human being in general. And congratulations on your NBJC Wisdom Award. You deserve it.
Thank you, my beloved Ebony Bell. My heart is full. I'm pleased to be honored along with so many phenomenal women. One who I know personally, hi, my beloved Sheila, and others who I have long admired from afar. Those wonderful trailblazers who today I am blessed to stand with. I thank and I appreciate the National Black Justice Coalition for including me. I'd like to thank everyone who helped me gain wisdom over the years. My ancestors, my teachers, my family, my DC community, my LGBT community, my ballroom community, Team Racine Productions, including Krilios, Nikki, Czar, the arts community, especially my late mother, Miss Mary Chandler, who loved me unconditionally, who taught me the importance to give back. She taught me to be in service was the greatest gift of all. The past couple years have been very challenging for us all, as I have enjoyed creating the online Team Racine YouTube channel during that time after ending the show, the Ask Racine show, for 10 years. I created this wonderful experience, and that's why I'm the queen of the shameless plugs. Looking forward to my upcoming gigs, always looking forward to be included in what is a part of now we enter Pride season. A joy, a blessing, and a gift. This Saturday, I will be on the Kennedy Center stage. So if you want more information, of course, I'm the queen of shameless plug. I always say, go to my YouTube channel or go to racine.com. That's RAYCEEEN. And that's why I'm the queen of the shameless plug. The next couple years have been challenging for us all. Wars continue around the world. Mass shooting continues in our country. Financial woes are many. Politicians and media hosts spread rhetoric. Conspiracy theories abound us. Books are being banned, and the Supreme Court may soon take away choice. I have no easy solutions for this problem, but I have words of wisdom, especially for young people. Get involved in the political process. Yes, you need to vote, but also volunteer, be a poll worker, register other people to vote, run for office yourself, especially to my Black women consider running office on many levels. If you do not stand for something, you will fall for anything. Make a change in your life, and let me leave you with some kind words just for a second. Take the opportunity to be kind to someone. Take the opportunities to greet each other as we see each other on the streets. Say hello, good afternoon, good morning. Acknowledge each other in the space, because seeing one another is so important. I'm honored to be an elder. I've earned that right at the table, but I welcome all the young people to sit with us, hear our experiences, listen to our stories, understand that we are part of the journey and we stand with you, not behind you, but with you. Be kind to a stranger along the way. Someone says they're hungry, give them something to eat. If you don't have the food or the money to give them words of encouragement. Lift them up. Take that moment to see them and honor them in the space in which we are in. We share the experience, and this human experience, we're all part of the journey together. We walk, we live, we breathe, we talk, we celebrate, we stand together. And I'm so honored today, and I say thank you. And remember to follow me on all forms of social media. I'd love people to reach out. Be kind, be blessed, Rayceen. Go to Racine.com to find out more about the old doll. There's an old saying, this old broom still sweeps. And I still sweep and I still twirl along the way. But I twirl on this beautiful road, on this journey, and I stand on the shoulders of people like Erling Budd, Valerie Spencer, Tina Teasley, Tony Collins, Dee Curry, Ebony Bell, Jamil Fletcher, Yarde Noir, and so many others. God bless you all. Thank you.
God bless you too. And yes, keep twirling. I love it. The hostess with the mostest. In addition to so much of what you all have just heard about Racine and from Racine, the hostess with the mostest has served as the MC of some of the most iconic moments in Black LGBTQ plus history. From some of the earliest Black prides in our nation to convenings, bringing leaders from across the country together. And so we had to make sure that we recognize the art that is hosting, in addition to the television and all the other creative spaces that Racine has continued to curate. Thank you so much, Your Royal Highness.
Thank you.
Now I have the opportunity to toast and be the torchbearer for someone myself. This person shared that they do not like surprises, so I hope this surprise doesn't catch you off guard too much. Linda Villarosa. When I was growing up, it was my ambition to become a journalist. I wanted to write. I wanted to be the next Oprah, but writing was something that spoke to me first. And it was because my mother made sure that our house was filled with Essence magazine, Ebony magazine, and Jet magazine, like so many others. And the beauty of Essence was always being able to see such gorgeous Black women and our diversity on its pages. Now, remember, as the internet became a thing, being in middle school, trying to navigate who I am, and in 7th grade, hearing for the first time from a friend the term lesbian, which came about when she asked me if I was a lesbian. And I was like, I don't know what that word means. I looked it up. AOL I just got the AOL dial-up. Some of you might remember the CDs that would come in the mail. And I used the AOL search engine to look up what a lesbian was, because I felt real ignorant. I said no, mostly because I didn't know what the term meant. And I looked up Black lesbian. And one of the first things that came up, and I don't know if I've ever shared this story publicly before, one of the first stories that came up was your inviting in story. And the fact that it was published in Essence meant so much to me in terms of the credibility that it gave to me as being both unapologetically Black and unapologetically, as I would learn, a lesbian. Reading your inviting in story gave so many of us coming up and others who were already living their lives the ability to point to something, to say, see, this is my lived experience, and to do it in a publication that held so much cultural reverence. Come on now, any beauty salon you go to, there's gonna be an Essence in the waiting area. People are talking about the articles that they're reading. And you not only broke ground in sharing your story with the world, you broke ground in sharing the first story about HIV/AIDS that any ethnic publication dared to print on its pages. At a time when Black and brown people in our community were dying everywhere with no attention being paid to us as we lost our lives and as we lost our loved ones. And yet you were bold in sharing the stories of so many. And you didn't stop with just the piece that opened the door for publications to do this more often, and for our government and others to be responsive to what was happening, including our churches. You continued to write and continue today to write about the impact of HIV/AIDS on our community and in the world. And not just when it comes to same gender loving brothers, which is important and critical, but also when it comes to Black women, cisgender and transgender, who are often excluded from the conversations we have about the disease. Most recently, you were incorporated in history by an article you wrote on medical myths in the Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times 1619 Project, including the stories of medical discrimination and neglect that so many of us have to deal with, especially as we age. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart on behalf of Black women and girls and everyone else across the world who felt seen and no longer invisible or erased because of your words on a page. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for living your life in the open. Thank you for your courage, for writing books, being an editor and a novelist. I can't wait to read your recent novel. I've not read that yet, I'll be honest, but I'm gonna pick it up soon to read it. And for opening doors as the first openly LGBTQ+ and same gender loving executive editor at a significant Black publication. You continue to open doors, create change, and make a way out of no way and deepen the path for all of us to follow. It is my privilege to be your torchbearer today and to shine a light on some, not even all, of the wonderful, incredible things that you have done for our community.
Oh my, thank you. If I had known you'd be my torchbearer, I would not be so afraid of being surprised, because what a sweet, sweet surprise and an enthusiastic, thoughtful tribute. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you to NBJC, to Sharon, Dr. David J. I really appreciate this honor. It's also just feels good. And today, to be together with the other honorees, as well as everyone in the audience. I've been so sad by the death of our friend Urvashi Bad, and feel nourished by the support we all have together for those of us who continue to carry her torch. Congratulations to the other honorees. I have books by Cheryl Clarke, by Jewelle Gomez, and by Barbara Smith right there behind me. They are literally have my back. I love you, Andrea Jenkins, for who you are and all you do in Minneapolis, which is a second home to me. I salute my new friend, Sheila Alexander-Reid. Good to know you, finally. And I was speechless with joy to hear the voice of Miss Shockley, who's an idol and sometimes pen pal. So I owe you a letter. I know Miss Shockley is coming. For the other honorees who I haven't yet met, I feel grateful to learn more about you today. Congratulations. I'll be honest, when I heard that I was getting an Elder Award, I just felt a little something. And I thought, elder, I don't think I'm old enough to be an elder. One quick reality check, look at my driver's license, showed yes, that I am. So I'm also gratefully to take up that mantle. The real elder in my family is my mother. And thank you, Victoria, for talking about our article that we wrote. In reality, when the editors of Essence Mag, I came out to them on staff. I was a senior editor at the time. I came out to them, and then Susan Taylor and the other editors encouraged me to write about the coming out process with my mother. And so what I said was, well, I don't really think it's up to me to write about it, but my mother will. And so I asked my mom, the editors of Essence want this article about our process. Would you like to write it? And she said, oh, yes, I think I would like to do that, because it'll be important to people to hear our story and to hear my story. And then I realized, if my mother isn't afraid to tell our story in Essence, why was I being hesitant and afraid? So my mother and I went through what was sometimes a difficult process for us, reliving kind of a time in our lives when it was difficult for both of us. But what happened is my mom became, changed, accepted me, stepped forward, wrote the article. She was the one who said, let's have our pictures taken in the magazine for the article. And I thank her courage, and she remains a torchbearer for me. I thank her. She is 91 years young. She would be here sitting next to me, squeezed in, if she could, but she has COVID. And so she's recovering from it. She's going to be fine. She got her infusion. I'm really proud of her for fighting so hard and, being healthy and staying healthy for all of us. I accept this award on behalf of myself and my family. My mom remains a role model and a North Star to me, my sister, my extended family, and my chosen family. And she is a wonderful grandmother to my 2 children, her 2 queer grandchildren. So I love you, Mom. I thank you, Mom. And I thank you to NBJC.
Thank you. I'm glad it was a sweet surprise. And again, thank you for all that you've done and continue to do for our community. Last, but certainly not least, will be the honoring of Barbara Smith. Her torchbearer is also the person who has been commissioned to create the lovely award that each honoree will be receiving. And all of you will have the opportunity to see shortly. And that is Rebecca Crouch. Rebecca is a native born of the seasoned and inspiring brushstrokes of artist and mother, Diane Crouch. Artistry sometimes runs in families. Like Barbara, she is a twin, and her twin sister, much like Barbara, is engaged in the same art form. Her sister, Rachel Crouch, is also an artist. As children, they were immediately immersed into the world of art and had no choice but to develop the natural-born aptitude. They both produced work in varied media using color, texture, movement, and flow. The origin of Rebecca's artistic premise stemmed from heartache, forgiveness, and new beginnings. Their pieces are poignant. I hope you all have a chance to not only admire the award that you will see soon, but also admire some of the other artwork that Rebecca has done. I know Rebecca from Howard University and being, along with her sister, the Gay Deltas. There's the website there. Being someone who gave the glimpse of visibility for women on campus who are openly lesbian, openly in their truth, who also wanted to be a part of the Greek community. And so in so many ways, both in her art and in the way that she's lived her life openly, Rebecca, in her own accord, like the other torchbearers, have also helped to pave the way for others. Now, Let's hear from Rebecca as she shines a light on the incredible, legendary, and iconic Barbara Smith.
Barbara Smith has been politically active in many movements for social justice since 1960s. She was among the first to define an African-American women's literary tradition. She stood out among scholars by establishing Black women's studies in college and university curricula. Since the early 1970s, Smith has been active as a critic, a teacher, a lecturer, an author, a scholar, and publisher of Black feminist critical thought. In 2005, Smith was among the nominees for the Nobel Peace Prize. She was one of thousands of women from across the world who were nominated to call attention to the extreme underrepresentation of women as recipients of this honor. Barbara Smith is a trailblazer. She's a change agent. She embodies all of the qualities and accomplishments to be a 2022 Wisdom Award honoree.
Hello, too many machines at one time. This is Barbara Smith. I'm speaking to you from Mohawk, Mohican, and Haudenosaunee land, also known as the Capital Region of Albany, New York. I am so honored to be with you today and to be with so many of my sister co-conspirators. I like the fact, in fact, love the fact that Victoria is impressed by our connections and the way that we have been in the life with each other together. And not only, for example, do I know Linda when she was talking about her mother, I knew Clara before I knew Linda. I knew Linda's mother before I knew Linda. And Clara Villarosa was a wonderful bookseller, The Human Experience in Denver. I see people responding on our chat, friends. It's just a wonderful experience to be with all of you and also to be honored by an organization like none other, the National Black Justice Coalition. I remember when Mandy Carter was working on starting the National Black Justice Coalition. So this is a wonderful day. And I told friends of mine when I encouraged them to join us, I said, if you're really interested in our history, this will be a great way to find out about our history and meet people who you may not know, who've made it possible for so many others to have the lives that they deserve to have. I want to talk about Urvashi. I was devastated when I found out that she had died this past weekend. I knew that she was extremely ill. I only found out yesterday. And the only thing I could think of is the day that I first met her. It was the late 70s, or maybe at the latest 1980, in the city of Boston. She was at Northeastern Law School, and I was teaching, working, doing combahi, etc. And we were at a protest, which I believe was around violence against women, but it could have been a protest around reproductive freedom as well and reproductive rights. But it was one of those issues that all of us feminists came out for. And it was an unusual protest because, as I recollect, we were walking in the south end of Boston, as opposed to being downtown at the Boston Commons or in front of the State House. We were actually walking in a neighborhood where I had once lived before I moved to Roxbury. And it was not a huge demonstration either. So we were walking along, doing the protest, chanting, etc. And Urvashi and I, she may have introduced herself to me. Somehow we got to talking, and we had a wonderful time meeting each other and talking as we walked along during the protest. And the thing that I remember most vividly is that I seldom had met anybody more energetic, more excited, and more brilliant. It was like she was basically like hopping along the sidewalk. The rest of us were walking, and she was so full of energy. It was just bursting. And of course, we stayed in contact from that point and all through the years. One of the things I also love about the fact that so many of us have talked about her, including Victoria, is the fact that Urvashi was South Asian. Her heritage was Indian heritage, but yet here we are at an event honoring Black women, and we see her as a sister and as a comrade, as somebody who was a part of our community and struggle. And that's how communities and struggle are built. I don't have prepared remarks because 3 weeks ago tomorrow, I had a total knee replacement. And that's what I do these days, deal with the fact that I have a new knee. But I do have a few things that I do want to share with you. This event is about legacy. It's about heritage. It's about history. It's also about struggle. If not for struggle, none of us would be here today to be honored. And as we've all pointed out, there's so many friends here that we go way back with, and then there are new people who we have not met previously. And that's completely uplifting as well and exciting. And yes, I'm going to go to Racine Pendarvis's website. She told us to do that, so I'm going to do that. In any event, as I said, if not for struggle, we would not be here. And this is a time when struggle is more necessary than ever. We live in a society. I was thinking about my family from way down in rural Georgia, all of whom have been deceased for many years. I was thinking about them yesterday, particularly my grandmother, who was born in 1887, and how, because my family was from Georgia and was born in the post-Reconstruction era, they lived through some of the worst manifestations of Jim Crow of any people in the United States, because Georgia had the second highest number of lynchings after Mississippi. So Mississippi was first and Georgia was second. They never talked to us about all the things that they'd experienced. But I was thinking about my grandmother as I listened to the news about the slaughter, the white supremacist massacre in Buffalo. And I thought, like, what would my grandmother and the people in my family think? I think one of the things that they would be saying is like, it's such a shame that our babies, that would be my sister Beverly and I, born in 1946, it's such a shame that our babies are going through the same thing that we went through in the 19th century and in the early 20th. We have so much work to do. And it is not necessarily work done in those halls of power. As maybe some of you know, I've always been a part of the left. I am an avowed socialist, and I think there are other ways for us to get to freedom and liberation than begging for it or asking other people to give it to us. We have to work for it ourselves. I want to tell you about two institutions that I was associated with. I could say a lot about either one of them or about both of them, but what I want to share with you is two things, one about each of them that I think made them unique. Kitchen Table Women of Color Press began as a conversation between Audre Lorde and I in the fall of 1980. And she said, this was a phone conversation, she said, Barbara, we really need to do something about publishing. I knew exactly what she meant. And we had a meeting that became the first meeting of Kitchen Table Women of Color Press just a couple of weeks after that conversation in 1980. One of the decisions that we made is that we would be a press for all women of color, although most of the people in the room at that first meeting were either of African American heritage or African Caribbean heritage. But we decided we would be a press for all women of color. That was to me, revolutionary decision. It still is, because it showed that we had a perspective about struggle across differences. And as far as who we consider to be women of color, we had some really heavy conversations about that. Audre was in the room, Cherie Moraga was in the room, Myrna Bain was in the room. Hattie Gossett was in the room. And we were having these conversations about who was a woman of color. And we decided, this is like early 1980s, no later than 1981. We decided that we considered women of color to be anyone who identified with the indigenous peoples of their particular land. And we were not asking people to send us photographs. We were taking into account who people identified with, how they express themselves, what language. When we published Cuentos, Stories by Latinas, which was to be our first book, but then Cheryl Clarke's narratives really became our first book. She had self-published that book and asked us to publicize and distribute it. We quickly sold out of the first printing, and then it became a kitchen table Women of Color Press book. That's Cheryl Clarke's first book. But in any event, Cuentos, which then came out subsequently, was not a translated book. Whatever language people submitted their work in, whether it was Spanish, Portuguese, or English, was the language that we published it in, and we did not translate those languages. That made certain people very angry. And I would sit at the kitchen table, press table at conferences as certain angry people came up to us. I think they're called the Karens, but in any event, they came up to us and like I would say, well, maybe the book isn't necessarily for you. It was for Latinas, Latinx people, Latinos living in the Americas. That's who we saw it to be for. Now, Combahee uniqueness, as far as I'm concerned, was the fact that we had a material analysis, that we actually understood that it wasn't just about our identities, although we coined the term identity politics in our Combahee collective statement that was written in 1977 and came out a couple of years later. And we understood that if people did not have the basic things that they needed in order to survive, physically and materially, in other words, dealing with class and economics, that we would not be able to make this Black feminist movement happen. We were intersectional before the word existed, and we believed in revolutionary possibilities. I think that it's really strange for me to hear words like legendary and icon applied to anything that I would be involved in, because just like the women in my family, what I most consider myself to be is a hard worker. And that's just what I do. And I just want to leave you with something that Audrey used to say, personal friend of mine, luckily, very lucky, that Audrey used to say at almost all of her public presentations. She would say, I'm a Black, lesbian, warrior, mother, poet, cancer survivor, doing her work. Are you doing yours? And that's what she would leave us with. And I think those are words of wisdom for all of us. We're just down here on this material plane of earth for a little while, just trying to get our work done. And I really appreciate a day like this when us doing our work gets recognized. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, teach us our history. I love everything about it. I was just like, I could just sit here and listen to you talk for forever. And I do have to share a moment from the Billboard Music Awards last night, which was when Janet Jackson presented the Icon Award to Mary J. Blige, because I love that moment in terms of Black sisterhood. But also, I love the definition that Janet shared about being an icon. She said, what an icon means to me is overcoming obstacles to accomplish the unthinkable and be widely admired for having influence over a multitude of people. And that is what each and every one of you have represented throughout your lives. And I'm excited because the big moment has arrived. The moment where we're going to be able to share with you for the very first time the award that has been commissioned and created just for you all. It's going to be shared for the very first time, again, created by Rebecca Crouch. We're going to go ahead and bring up the award. This is our 2022 Legendary Elders Wisdom Award that is going to be mailed to each and every one of you. It's a piece of art that you will be able to hang in your home or in your office. Oh yeah, I'm hearing the reactions. I'm loving it. I don't know if we can bring everyone on camera at once. Yes, I'm loving the smiles. Yeah.
Might be time for that group photo.
Yes, we are going to capture a group photo of all of our honorees up at once. There we go. This is an image that we've been able to pull together of you all from throughout the program today, including Anita Cornwell and an image from Ann Allen Shockley that she was proud to have represent her likeness. You'll also notice that Ann's represented in the piece through a visual that was incorporated in her on the front page of her groundbreaking novel, Loving Her, right underneath the Nyansefo knot, which represents wisdom for us. You've gotten some good feedback. Wonderful piece of art. So amazing. I'm seeing the smiles and the snaps and the claps. And yes. I love it. I know everyone in the audience is like, can I get a print of this? I see Alexa saying moved to tears. It's like having our very own Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore of Black, artistic, queer, trans, non-binary, lesbian, same-gender, loving, bisexual, all the things, women in our movement and in our lives. Y'all will have your very own Mount Rushmore with yourselves included, that you'll be able to have, to hold, and to cherish this moment forever. Oh yeah, Barbara. Barbara just noted, I have to share this with the audience. Barbara noted that it's a Mount Rushmore without slaveholders. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
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 Ashe.
Yes. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Also, I'm also excited to let you all know that each of you, thanks to the generous sponsorship of AARP, will receive $1,000 to go along with your award in honor of the contributions that you have made to our community, to our movement, and to all of our lives.
Would you say that again?
You gonna get $1,000. You'll get a brand. You'll get a G. Look at that. I get my Oprah moment after all.
Is it under our chairs like Oprah put?
Right.
I'm looking under the chair.
We'll make
my
sure
goodness.
that each of you receive it. It's not under your chair right now, but it will be in that bank account shortly.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's very lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
We know that as we age, far too often, elders who had to sacrifice and lead without some of the cushy salaries that are available now need a little support every so now and then. I know it may not be the case for all of you, but we wanted to make sure that we shared what we were able to. And also encourage foundations and others to check out these honorees and figure out ways that you can also support them in your own ways. You know, last year's honorees, some of them were able to be supported from different entities that learned about them through this program. And we hope that you all have a similar experience. and being able to have more and more people and institutions learn of you, know of you, and value you. I'm gonna say that again, value you, because as Black women, we are too often, Black women and femmes, we are too often easily disposed of after people feel like we don't have the same to offer as we might have offered before. And we want you to know that we value you, period. Regardless if you don't write another thing ever or create another thing ever, we value you, and we want the world to value you too. So the next thing, I hope you're taking in all this love, because now you're about to get some love from our executive director, Dr. David J. Johns, who has a special toast for you all.
Thank you for being here with us today. I'm honored to join in today's events as an active accomplice and as a Black male feminist who is humbled to have been loved, supported, and mentored by many Black women and femmes, including each of you. My work as NBJC's executive director has been informed by your light and your leadership. And I hope that each of you hear my heart when I say thank you. Thank you for showing up and showing out without apology. Thank you for creating space and laying the foundation so that many of us can simply be. And thank you for living and loving and providing so many examples for publicly demonstrating love for and of Black people. It is because of your dedication to liberation, justice, and equity that our movements for racial equity and queer rights have made noteworthy progress. And I pray your examples, strength, and passions continue to inspire generations of race warriors similarly committed to ensuring that we can all get free. This toast is for each of you, our 2022 Wisdom Award honorees, and to the torchbearers who helped us honor each of you today. This toast is also to the members of Team NBJC, including Sharon Lemon-Hicks, our CEO and board chair, and Victoria Kirby York, our Deputy Director for Policy and Programs, who helped to fuel our efforts. Let's raise our cups and have a sip of tea or whatever you fancy in honor of each of you. Cheers and congratulations.
Yes. I was just taking in all your smiles and looking at the toast.
You can tell I'm an elder because I thought, what a lovely young man. And I mean that in the best of ways.
Yes,
goodness.
he's our newly minted PhD leader, as he calls, quarterback of Team NBJC. And many of you also know Sharon Lemon-Hicks, our CEO, who also helped to conceive and bring this space to fruition for the first time last year. You'll notice in David's toast, the awards that were commissioned last year were in the corner for the Wisdom Awards, the inaugural Wisdom Awards last year, and also the inaugural James Baldwin Awards. And so now your award will now be up there as well. Our own little Hall of Fame.
I am speechless, totally speechless.
Wow. What a beautiful program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely program.
Really good job. Nice organizing. Some of these Zoom things or whatever, these digital things are a little bit weird. This one's so buttoned up, so wonderful. So thank you. And good to see everyone else. Boy.
Well, I've got to give huge thanks to Tom Cunningham, our event producer, who helped to pull all this together, helped to bring all the torchbearer videos together, and to ensure that everyone had technical support and love. Also to Emily Lugers, our executive assistant, and a whole bunch else who helped with so much of the logistics and coordinating and communication. And again, another huge shout out to our torchbearers.
Yes.
Good idea.
They were amazing.
They were.
Especially mine.
Mine too.
Mine too. Thank you, Ebony.
I'm so glad.
Thank you, Alexis.
Barbara, I'm sending you healing vibes.
Yeah.
Linda, please hug Clara for me.
I know.
And I just adore you all. Cheryl, thank you so much for what you put into the world. Jewelle, oh my God. Racine, ask Racine. Because she will give you the truth.
Yes, I love this love fest.
Love all of you. Love you. Happy birthday, Cheryl. Happy birthday, Cheryl.
Yes, let's do a quick happy birthday, then we're
On
gonna
your
close it
birthday.
out with our call to action. All right, we're gonna do
Stevie
the
Wonder's
Stevie Wonder version.
Stevie Wonder.
Let's do Stevie Wonder. All right.
Well,
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. That's all I can do.
Run away screaming.
Birthday. Happy birthday.
Hashtag legendary badasses.
Yes, legendary badasses. I love it. I did want to know, just for folks to know, that Jewelle has decided already to donate a portion of the $1,000 gift she's receiving to an organization protecting women's right to choose. And that reminded me that I needed to share that Anita Cornwell is going to be donating, the family of Anita Cornwell will be donating her award to her scholarship fund. And they wanted to make sure folks knew about its existence. And if you're interested in sowing a seed to her scholarship fund, to do so. With that, I'm going to close us with a quick call to action. Some of you have already noted the events over the weekend, the terrorist attack targeting the Black community in Buffalo, New York. There are actions already underway, highlighting some of the things that need to be done in this nation to stop the terrorism coming from white nationalists and white supremacists, and to also ensure that the Black community and Black voters, in addition and specifically as well, are protected and don't feel intimidated on election day. We know that some of these intimidation tactics and terrorist attacks over the course of history have been done to try to prevent us from being a part of our democracy, and have also been a part of trying to pull and push us out of our communities that we love, and have helped build and contribute to greatly over time. We encourage folks to help to share food has been requested by the local community, as the grocery store is within a food desert in Buffalo, New York. We also encourage folks to get connected with some of the different hate crimes task forces within your communities, and to stay tuned at NBJC on the Move to learn more about what you can do in your community post this attack, and as we seek to work with various parts of our government to ensure that the hate crimes that have targeted the Black community, the LGBTQ plus and same gender loving community, and those of us that live at the intersection for far too long are stopped and prevented. We also want to shout out Brittany Griner, who has been detained in Russia for way too damn long and needs to be brought home safely and swiftly. We call on the US government, White House, Congress, and the Russian government to do what is right and just, and to bring her home. There's going to be action shared out on at NBJC on the Move. That's a part of a campaign to help continue to spread awareness and lift up the reality that she remains detained. And finally, two more things. The Equality Act, continue to contact your U.S. senators. We are pushing and are hopeful and prayerful that there will be a vote on the Equality Act in the U.S. Senate, and we have to make sure that we have the 60 votes there to secure its passage. So please continue to call your U.S. senators, plug those numbers into number 1 and number 2 on your phone, call them every week, make sure they hear from you, and to ensure that existing while Black is no longer being discriminated against when existing while Black will no longer be legal, and that our people will be able to have the ability to get justice and redress when harm is done to us. And last but not least, as was mentioned a few times by our honorees, the Supreme Court will have a decision, an official decision out within the next month or so regarding the abortion cases before then. And that means we have a limited window to try to get them to see the light and to approach their decision from a different place, a way different place than they're at right now. And so we encourage folks to write letters to the editor talking about the importance of abortion access for everyone, especially for those with the uterus, but for everybody. Everybody is impacted by the right to have an abortion, and specifically the right for equality, which is really what undergirds our ability to have abortion and so many of the other rights that have come to exist because of the 14th Amendment. Thank you all for tuning in to the 2022 Second Annual Wisdom Awards, presented by the National Black Justice Coalition and sponsored by AARP on National LGBTQ Elders Day. Continue to support legislation that supports our elders and ensures their ability to thrive and to live vibrant lives. To all who have joined us live or will receive this and watch this program at some point in the future, thank you for the gift of your time and attention. Please share this with those you love and those you think these words will impact. And as always, we appreciate your support of the National Black Justice Coalition. You can learn more about us by going to www.nbjc.org. I'm Victoria Kirby-York, Deputy Executive Director of NBJC, and I'm grateful that you have spent the afternoon with us. Many blessings.